Yo, what in the actual fuck is going on out here in Cali, man? Last year my rent was $925. I just opened up this letter and it says your new rent amount is $2,300 starting on the 1st. No upgrades, no renovations. They didn't even add a fucking washer and a dryer. This is crazy, man. I mean, is everybody else dealing with this? Or am I the only one getting screwed here?
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family of 4.
We are currently in a time where even rent, as in apartments, not houses, costs more than half of your monthly income, if not more, while apartments are requiring 3-4 times that income to even be able to move in. I think it's extreme, especially when you compare to what it was like in the past, where rent was only $800, which, while you could say that people are getting paid more nowadays, the bottom range is still getting paid more or less the same. On $800 a month, you could definitely afford that off a salary of $40K a year. So pardon me if I think it's a little bit extreme how 1-bedroom apartments can cost $1,500 where I live, and in some of the most extreme cases, it can cost around $2,200 a month. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's go ahead and play the first TikTok.
It ain't no way that renting an apartment is this expensive now. Like, what's really going on, bro? Like, the market for apartments is crazy. Not even just apartments, like houses, all that. It's like the norm is like $2,500. Like, what's really going on? How do y'all expect people to get through the week? Just like, I don't get it. Like, bro, I feel bad if you ain't working right now or something. Like, it is crazy. Like, and then it be the apartments that it don't even be nothing special about it. It ain't them high-rise apartments. It's the simple one bathroom, 2 bedrooms, living room, and that's it. Like, at the end of the day, bro,
apartment pricing is crazy.
Something gotta shake. A reality check has to come in play. Like, I don't know what's been going on these last couple of years, but I don't like it. Like, bro, you can't even tell nobody, like, yeah, I'm gonna move out and I get 18 to get a man. That's damn near throwing them to the wolves. You know what I'm saying? Like, how motherfuckers be like, your parents be like, hey, you gotta move out when you get 18. I wish motherfucker would tell me if I was 18 right now, move out. You gotta let me get some time to understand what's going on. Like, these apartments are so expensive. And that ain't even groceries, cleaning products, clothes. Like, to the new generation, life is life. And you remember that teachers always be like, yeah, once you graduate, you gonna see how life is. No, life is really life. And I'm telling you, life is real.
And he's not exaggerating that. I feel like the most important part for developing who you are as a person is in that young adulthood around 18 to, let's say, 25. I, for example, definitely have learned most about the real world or just life in general the second I got out of high school. Those first 2 years, I definitely learned a lot. And, you know, I'm still only 21. I'm still learning a lot about the world. And I know I will keep learning a lot about the world. That's why, you know, the elderly are so educated and more knowledgeable. In most cases. But I'll tell you one thing though, it surely is a lot harder for you to actually learn whenever you can't even afford rent. It just makes you hate the world more and more. And I understand that a rebuttal I've heard before, right, is how America really is one of the only countries where that was even normalized to begin with, living with your parents until 18 and then moving out, when most of the other worlds, you kind of live with your family until you actually get married, which is kind of foreign here, but nowadays it's kind of becoming true. If you're not getting married, at least until you're dating somebody that you feel stable enough with to be able to move out. If not, you have roommates. And there's nothing we can really do about it. I mean, if rents go up too much, correct, then nobody moves in and those apartment complexes suffer. And so they're either forced to stay stubborn and have nobody actually move in, or they lower it down to the market average. But let's say everybody congruently decides to move up the rent all together collectively. All of a sudden, what can we really do? Because if rent goes up, then most likely mortgages will go up, because there's going to be this little short gap of time where people realize that buying a house would be cheaper, so they'd go for mortgages instead. Those mortgages will all of a sudden increase. And then it's kind of messed up, because what's the alternative to that? We all need some place to live. And I know there'll be a lot of people out there who just say work harder. Well, if you actually go ahead and watch my previous video where I talked about the cost of living, we went ahead and talked about how if you wanted to be able to afford one of those one-bedroom apartments, you would have to make like around about 70K salary, which, net would be like 50K. But I just think the most ridiculous part is that in most cases, whenever they decide to increase the rent, which by the way, your apartment complex can increase the rent at any time that they want to, just because they feel like it, most of the time they don't actually upgrade in any sort of way. Commenter here says, on top of that, we spend most of our time at work, but got to pay $2,000 for only being home one day out of the week. It's ridiculous, because I know that there's a lot of people, specifically in my generation, who are barely coming out of school or barely coming out of college, who have to take up 2, maybe 3 jobs sometimes just to be able to actually afford their basic necessities. So then at that point, you're just spending money just to go to sleep. Another commenter says, we are all slaves. We gotta stop thinking in terms of right and left and more in terms of us and them. And that's exactly the point. I don't mean to get too political here, but all I'm gonna say is, isn't it weird how the media has really shifted the second Occupy Wall Street happened? That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it right there. Do your own research if you don't believe me, but hey. One more comment saying, I remember paying $550 a month for my 1-bath, 1-bedroom. Oh, I said that backwards. Back in 2010. So this isn't even that long ago. That was 15 years. So the fact that rent has gone up $1,000 on the lower end for the same thing in just 15 years is ridiculous. And here's a prime example. I know I said that was the last comment, but here's a prime example. First apartment, 1996, $350. So that's 1996. That is basically 14-year difference, right? So we have about, an example out of here, right? So if we go back to the previous comment, it said $550 a month in comparison to 1996, $350 a month. So that only went up $200 in comparison to the $1,000 increase on the lower end that we're facing right now.
I don't fucking understand these fucking apartments. Yo, I'm applying for an apartment, right? I'm moving out. End of the month. I'm getting up out of here. Why the fuck I applied this apartment, right? Everything was good. Credit was bomb. My deposit was ready. She said, okay, but the only thing is you have to make 5 times the rent. 5 times the fucking rent? What the fuck? Do you know how much money that is? That is a lot of fucking money. 5 times the rent. The bitch said it like, yeah, 5 times the rent. Like, that's a fucking walk in a fucking park.
I doubt
Bitch,
she
like,
even
dog.
makes that
Bitch,
much. I'm not gonna lie.
Fuck? So I look at her, I said, no. 5 times the fucking rent? She gonna say, yeah, 5 times. Again, like she said, it was a walk in a fucking park. Again, I'm not a fucking dog. I don't walk in a park. So the only question that dawned on me, right? Do you make 5 times the fucking rent? You working here. You work in these apartments. Do you make 5 times the rent? She was like,
That's exactly
no,
what I was saying.
I got a discount. Well, you give me your fucking discount then. What the fuck is wrong with you? 5 times the fucking rent. Bitch, what?
So if we go back to my example that I keep saying where the average rent for a 1-bedroom is around $1,500, right? If you're making 5 times that, that'd be $7,500 a month, which is damn near what? I'm trying to do the math off the top of my head. Maybe like 90K a year? Maybe 85K a year. That is a lot of money for a 1-bedroom. I keep talking about 1-bedrooms just so you really get a picture in your head, because most people don't live in 1-bedrooms. Most people have like a couple, or they have a family. They will get a 2-bedroom or maybe sometimes a 3-bedroom. God forbid you have a 3-bedroom apartment. I know somebody in my life right now that's spending $3,500 a month on a 3-bedroom. And it's crazy because I know some of you guys will be hearing that price, and depending on the city that you live in, you might even say that's cheap. We have another commenter right here that's proving my point. And rent $2,200. Gotta make $11,000 a month, which is ridiculous. That you are a top 1% earner at that point.
My rent just went from $1,360 to $3,900 a month.
What?
Also, I'm sick. Happy spring equinox.
Her reaction is so real though, I'm not gonna lie. And I think this commenter really says it the best. It's crazy how they look at your income to qualify you for an apartment, but don't have to consider income to qualify a rent increase. It's like you're setting these people up for failure, specifically speaking how, yes, pay has gone up, right? If you actually look at the charts, pay technically has gone up, but it has not matched even remotely close the amount that we're spending. Like, I understand if maybe statewide you can like increase the rent by what, what, 3-5%. Let's go extreme, maybe 10%. I might be talking out of my ass because percentages can work pretty weirdly sometimes, but like 5%, that sounds pretty reasonable. So that way we're not increasing it by 3 times.
Hot take, and I'm not judging because I literally was in this situation like a few months ago. I cannot fathom paying $1,000 a month to live with 3 other people. It literally bothers me that rent prices have gotten so insane that you're gonna pay $4,000 for a tiny ass unit. So like, for example, the situation I was in was I graduated college, I got a full-time job. It was downtown, and so there wasn't a lot of options, and I couldn't afford to live by myself. So I had to live with like 3 other college students. I paid $1,000 to live with 3 girls. Keep in mind, our unit was tiny. I could not fit like literally anything in my room. I was like crammed. I've learned like how to be a minimalist now because like I had no room in that apartment. My walking pad was like literally right next to my bed. Like there was no privacy. But I'm just not understanding like how people are graduating college and like moving out on their own, trying to be independent, trying to like stream away from their parents. And you're gonna tell me that it costs $1,000 to live with 3 other people. So obviously, if I didn't live with 3 other people, I'd be paying $2,000 in rent. $2,000. Keep in mind that that doesn't include any other bill you have, on top of the fact that that is literally like half of what you make. The math like doesn't make sense in my brain. And the fact that now I live in a lot less busy area and the rent is still expensive as fuck. I don't live anywhere near where I go to school. I drive there every day and the rent is still fucking ass crack expensive. When I moved into this apartment, we didn't even have a washer and dryer. Like, what do you mean? Like, and this is not me being a brat, like, get fucking better rent prices. No wonder people are living in their parents' basement. Like, this is why. Oh, not to mention I had 2 sources of income too.
And see, that's another example. She said she had 2 sources of income and still could hardly afford this. I mean, look, I get it. It's a city. I know obviously you probably shouldn't be living in the city if you can't afford the rent. Maybe she didn't want to spend too much on her car, and all the gas and maybe, maintenance because, the longer you drive, the more maintenance you have to do and all that kind of stuff, right? But still, living with 3 other people in a tiny, tiny apartment, that sounds like hell if you ask me. I mean, I could see if maybe they were your friends and your friends were actually respectful and, they weren't such slobs, right? But living with essentially 3 strangers, that's too intense even for me because you really don't even know the quality of character of these kind of people. You can get really lucky with your roommates. You could have normal functioning people, but that isn't necessarily guaranteed. But hey, I will say that is a lot cheaper though, only $1,000. And I'm assuming the way that she was talking about how it would be living on her own, $2,000, and that's not including the other bills. I'm assuming the $1,000 a month included her bills and all the other utilities and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's relatively cheap. I hope she saved up as much as she can, even with 2 sources of income. So hopefully she's in a better place now.
The more and more time go by, paying $2,000-$3,000 a month to live somewhere for 30 days don't sound good to me. $3,000 a month for 30 days, ain't that $100 a day? That's a hotel. Y'all scared me. Good night.
You know what, actually, I do want to actually talk about that a little bit because, at least whenever I drive to go see my girlfriend, I pass by this one hotel that specifically advertised that their monthly stay is $1,800 a month. And it is relatively close to the city. It's about like maybe a 3-minute drive away from the city. So you're basically in downtown Dallas. So it blows my mind that at that point, living in a hotel is cheaper than living in an apartment. Can you guys just wrap your mind up around that? Living in a hotel is cheaper than living in an apartment. And specifically, if you live in some areas, it could be significantly more cheaper. Now, obviously, it's not a 5-star hotel. It's more so like a motel that's basically kind of ish a hotel, kind of like one of those little hybrid things. But I mean, you live in a hotel, right? Or a motel, and you also have no utilities, and people come in and they, do housekeeping. So that sounds like a pretty good deal, all things considered. But that just really shows how desperate some people really are. But hey, you know what? It's pretty good for the hotel companies. I mean, that's a pretty good deal if you can, reel in a couple people. It's expensive to go outside. It's expensive to be inside. We can win. Oh my God. She brings up a really good point. Going out to eat is extremely expensive. Like fast food prices are ridiculously expensive. So much so that at this point, I just consider going into like actual restaurants instead, because the prices are like pretty comparable, and most of the time at the restaurants the food quality will be significantly better. And even whenever you go out to do activities, let's say you want to go to the arcade, let's say you want to play some, I don't know, go to a mall and find like a hockey ring or something like that, a lot of those prices are extremely expensive. You go to the club and you pay for like three $20 shots. You spend $60 already on top of like the fee to actually get in the club. I'm not a clubbing type of person, right? So I don't ever go to no clubs, but like you see how all of this really adds up, and it makes everybody become more so a homebody. And I feel like, especially a lot of people from the older generations, right? They will say that Gen Zs are really like shut in. They don't really leave their room and all that kind of stuff. But if you see and if you really look into this kind of stuff, it's not hard to imagine why they would be that way. They just raised my rent to almost 90% of my monthly income. I can't take it anymore. At that point, what else do you do? Because you can't just tell somebody to move, because realistically speaking, if they're increasing their rent, everybody else is increasing their rent too. Just move. Like if it doesn't cost so much to move, and that's if you can find another place with the crazy market. Yeah, and that's another thing people don't consider. Moving costs money. If you want to rent a van, that costs money. I don't know if that's a daily cost or an hourly cost. God forbid it's an hourly cost, right? But not only that, it's taking up a lot of your time. And on top of that, if you want to go ahead and move everything by your own car, that's a lot of gas money right there, depending on how far you really are going. God forbid you move out of state, because now that's an even bigger expense. And then on top of that, you also have to buy the boxes. And surprisingly, boxes at like Home Depot can get pretty expensive. You have to find the right boxes though, because I remember I was helping my girlfriend move out of her old apartment into her new apartment, and advertised there were these boxes that were $5. They were the exact same size as the one right next to them, and those costed about $25. And I made sure I specifically grabbed the ones from the $5 stack, right? And when I paid for it, I ended up paying $60 $60 for just moving boxes. That's kind of crazy.
I feel like the only reason that y'all think a one bedroom for $1,400 is okay, yes, because y'all are from big cities and big states that a one bedroom is $2,200 to $3,000. The reason that y'all think that $1,400 rent is okay is because y'all got got. Y'all got got. Y'all got got by inflation. Y'all got got by the economy. Y'all got got by the government. Y'all succumbed to the peer pressure that they put on us, making us feel like that $1,400 is good. Like, you feel me? It's not 10 years ago no more, but 10 years ago was literally 2015, 16. That felt like yesterday. It was 2-bedroom apartments, 1,100 square feet for $900. 1,100 square feet.
Oh my
for
God,
$900
could you imagine that?
And you think I'm gonna be happy because the world is shit now and a one bedroom is $1,400? Oh, let me take it. What? Man, if I can't find nothing for $900, I guess I'm gonna be living with my mama for the rest of my life. It is what it is.
And it's crazy because even then, like, you get a 1-bedroom apartment, right? But then people try to go cheaper with the studios, right? But the studios be only like $100, $200 less than the 1-bedrooms. You can definitely find a studio for, let's say, maybe $1,200, $1,100 if you get really lucky, right? But let's say you live in a place where it's like $1,500, $1,600, $1,800 for a 1-bedroom. Most of the time, you'll find the studios sitting right around the $1,400 mark. And like, come on, that's a studio. So I just did some quick math, right? Traditionally speaking, your housing should be 30% of your monthly income, whether that's renting or, God, I wish, your mortgage, right? I think it should be 50% for your necessities. So then that go ahead, that includes the, your car payments, gas, and then like, your utility bills. So 1,400 times 12, that's $16,800 times 0.3. That's $5,040. So you should realistically be making $5,040 a month to be able to comfortably afford a $1,400 apartment, which is ridiculous. Just go ahead and times that by 12. How much are you making in a year? Oh wow, look at that, 60K. You're supposed to be making 60K to be able to afford a 1-bedroom apartment in today's economy. I don't even make that. And it's crazy because freeing up your housing costs saves so much more money in the long run. You can put more into investments, which investments build your actual net worth. It builds your wealth in the long run. You can also put more money towards your savings for emergencies. So whenever your car breaks down, you don't have to be fucking pulling your hair to try to scrounger up any money, any loose change in your couch, anything. Let me get this straight. Apartments cost $2K per month, but they want you to make 3 times the amount. That's $6K per month or $72K per year. However, the average salary is $55K per year. The math ain't mathing, and he's correct. The math really isn't mathing. Commenter here says, if we all made 3 times our rent, we would be buying a house and not renting. Which, by the way, it's a little delusional because I'm not gonna lie, I don't think you can buy a house for that. A 2K a month house, right? A 2K a month mortgage, I think at the current moment would be a 260K house, which if you actually look at the average, I believe the average mortgage is sitting right around 3,500, 4K. So yeah, you're still about $1,000 off.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had any 2 bedrooms available.
Yes, ma'am. We have some ready for move-in as early as Monday.
All right, and how much do those go for?
$1,525 to $1,875.
How does it go from $1,500 to $1,800?
Depending on the phase that you apply for.
Okay, so like the older ones and the newer ones.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And that's still pretty cheap for a 2-bedroom. I probably would move into something like that.
That is way too much. And they're just raising the prices around here to get as much basic housing allowance from the military as possible because we're right outside the base and it only used to be $1,300 here. So why is it different now? People with money need more money, I guess. I guess that's what life is now. So I'm going to be looking for a new apartment soon. I'm already picking places where I want to live and I'm going to have to get a different job. I'm gonna have to uproot and just go because it's too expensive here, and that's my plan.
And that's a sad situation because uprooting your life isn't as easy as it, well, obviously it's not as easy to do as it is to say because you would have to move out. Like I said before, it costs a lot more to move all of your stuff across different cities, across different states, God forbid different states, right? But then you'd have to be like, accustoming yourself to a completely different place. You have to get a new job. So for a little bit of time, you'll be unemployed. And especially in this job market, that is almost undoable because you would have to be living off of your savings and that will drain your savings so fast. And who knows, you can't predict anything. Who knows, you could move to a different place, right? And their rents could just easily raise as it was in your previous city. So now you moved down for no reason. But still, $1,500 for a 2-bedroom? I think I'll take that deal, actually. I'm starting to sound like the girl in the other video who was complaining about people saying how $1,400 a month is cheap. But for a 2-bedroom in this economy, $1,500, $1,800, I'll take it. Maybe not $1,800, but I'll take $1,500. But that's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you guys are enjoying the content I'm making, don't forget to subscribe and of course, leave a like down below and comment anything that you find interesting, or if you have any other comments, I read all your comments and I will probably respond to you if I get the chance to. But with that all said, I will see you guys next time. Bye.